The US government is set to destroy the US economy, and nobody is talking about this. A new rule is set to take effect on March 11th of 2024. This is going to change the economy forever, and I don't think anyone can stop the Biden administration that is pushing forward with this 100%. Everyday hardworking Americans are being crushed by inflation, and they feel like their paychecks are getting smaller and smaller. And in fact, they're actually turning to paycheck advance just to get their paychecks a little bit earlier. This is causing them to pay crazy fees just to get their money. And of course, like I said, it's making their money smaller, and they feel like they're not getting anywhere. So a lot of Americans have turned to gig work. Now, this new rule is not just going to affect people that are doing this as a side job, but this is going to affect anybody that is doing gig work, either full-time or part-time, because the US government wants these people to be listed as a full-time employee. They're coming for that tax money. Now, this isn't just going to affect people that are Uber drivers or deliver Uber Eats or food delivery. This is going to affect everyday Americans that are doing side gigs and are contracted 1099 workers. It is going to affect all of them. And this, I think, honestly, it all started in California. And then, of course, the US government was like, why are we not doing that? So now they jumped on the bandwagon, and that's why they want this money.
Last part is the most important.
Major industries that are going to be affected by this are going to be healthcare workers, construction workers, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, food delivery drivers, and your everyday trucking drivers out there delivering product to every store and every business out there. If you are someone that is going to file a 1099 as a contracted worker and this is your main job, then you in fact are going to be affected by it, because the US government wants you to be listed as an employee and no longer as a 1099. I think that the US government is coming after the tax money that they haven't been making because people are independent contractors, and independent contractors can look at different ways that they can actually get tax benefits. They can write off cars. They can actually claim their mileage, their gas, their actual parts of their homes. There's so many different things that you can write off to save yourself money and really reduce your taxes that you have to pay to the IRS. So the IRS has been taking a massive hit in the last 6 to 8 years, I would say, as gig work has began to grow. This is going to affect more than 9 million Americans, and that's just who's listed as a 1099. This data is not 100% complete. But the biggest picture here is if you are a business owner and you have any 1099 contracted workers or contracted deals that you have with people, guess what? These people are going to affect your business because the US government says that person is dependent on your actual independent contracted gig. Then guess what? They want them to be listed as an actual employee, not a contracted 1099, because they are dependent on that actual job. And this all happened because of COVID. I'm going to tell you right now, when COVID hit, all these gig workers and people that were 1099 had no work to turn to. And then on top of that, they had no unemployment benefits. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to curtail this at the same time while digging into everyone's pocket and giving Uncle Sam a little bit of that cheese. That's what they want. At the end of the day, businesses are going to be affected tremendously, and this is going to cause things to cost even more. Now, we think that's going to actually lower the cost of things, but it's truly not. Think about it. If employers have to turn contracted workers into employees, give them benefits, and pay for actual workers' compensation, and that's not only it, unemployment insurance, this is going to raise the cost of everything across the board for businesses that do have contracted workers that have to turn them into actual full-time employees. So the wheel really started spinning with me. I started thinking about all the different industries that are going to be affected. And one of the biggest ones that nobody is talking about is content creators. If you're a content creator on TikTok, YouTube, on Meta, Facebook, Instagram, then guess what? You receive a 1099. So that means you're going to be turned into an employee of these companies and they have to pay you benefits? Is that what it means? Well, yes and no. The same thing for Uber drivers, for contracted nurses, for contracted actual construction workers, truck drivers. Now, if you are economically dependent on that one job, listen up real closely, that one job, then guess what? you have to be reported as an employee. But let's say you drive for Uber, and then you drive for Lyft, and then you drive for DoorDash. Then guess what? You're not economically dependent on that one gig because you have multiple gigs. So same thing would go for a content creator, I guess you could say. If you're out there and you actually create content for TikTok, and then also YouTube, and then Facebook, then guess what? You're not economically dependent on that one gig. Those are the people that are not going to be affected. And you have to pay attention to that verbiage because that's exactly what they're stating. They're going after businesses that have been taking advantage of this loophole for decades. That's why they want the money. That's why Uncle Sam hasn't been making any money, because there are in fact businesses that take advantage of people and say, oh, I'm sorry, we only do contracted work, when in fact they should be employees, because the US government and California are looking at it like this. If you control their everyday actions, they have to come to work at a specific time, they clock out at a specific time. Your role with that company is very important, and without you, they're going to suffer. Then guess what? You are actually an employee. You're not a contracted worker. In California, they literally are stating that if the 1099 employee is not an actual business, then they're not a 1099. Well, how's a business owner supposed to know that? Oh, because every single business owner is not in California. You can get a contracted worker in North Carolina that actually works for you technically in California because that's where they live. But guess what? California doesn't see it that way, unfortunately. And this is what all business owners need to understand. This is a great example, and this is why I said it all started in California. So now the US government is looking at the same exact way, but across the entire United States. They're not going as far as California, but it's getting very, very dangerously close. I also thought about something even crazier. People that are on OnlyFans, that this is their only sole job, does that mean OnlyFans is going to have to hire them as employees? I mean, this whole thing just opens up a can of worms that I think the government doesn't know about, or maybe they do. So tell me what you think in the comments. Do you think that this is okay? Should they be getting all that tax money from contracted workers and turning them into employees? Do 1099 people need to get better benefits? I mean, at the end of the day, this is what it's supposed to be about, so that actual everyday working Americans are protected, but it also seems like the IRS and the US government is coming after that tax money at the end of the day, because there's always a bigger picture to every story. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure that you watch the next video, because it is about how to upgrade any Capital One credit card with no hard inquiry. If you felt that I brought you some value in this video, don't forget, subscribe to increase your credit score.
I'm Mike the Credit Guy. I'm the owner and founder of Limitless Culture. We created the most advanced DIY credit management system in the industry. Our system allows you to take control of your credit, creating custom Metro 2 attack letters every single round, never using templates, for only $55.99 a month. Link is always going to be in the description. Now